everybody. Thanks for coming back to Crap Talk with Scarps. It's a great name.
It's a super name. It's an absolutely perfect name.
So, the whole point to this was to talk to people in the community and in the surrounding areas that either have a business or help support the area and community. It's one of the things that we pride ourselves on with our company is supporting our community. And today, we're fortunate enough to be joined with Paul Gladney from the Emily Eckman Fund. Appreciate you spending our time with us. Paul, you are what's your actual title at the?
We made him up a long time ago. So I'm the COO and co-founder of Emily's Fighter Foundation.
And what is Emily Eckman's Fighter Foundation?
So when Emily passed away from ovarian cancer I should probably look at a camera, huh? In 2022, we kind of all, grieved and then sat around and said, we got to do something. Emily was an unbelievable champion for women with ovarian cancer. And if you knew Em, you knew she was a fighter. So we developed the Fighter Foundation in July of that year to help create awareness for the disease, create support for survivors, and create some man, you start talking about Emily and you start crying. some support for research support. So we started that in 2022. It's now 26. In that time, we've raised about $100,000, total. So we've been able to give out our first grant to a survivor last year, which was awesome. Woman that was going through treatment, and we were able to help her out with fun things like groceries, and giving her some support there.
When you are dealing with family and somebody who has cancer, right? Like it's sometimes just little things, the things that help you survive and not have to worry about that, right? Like there's so much.
You start thinking about big things like cancer and everything gets to be macro. So you're thinking about what chemo is going to be like, what radiation is going to be like. It's taking over your entire life. And sometimes you forget that people are people. People have families. Emily had her 2 children and Steve. So, it's
3 children really with Steve.
Well, it's, how are you going to take care of all of the little things that are the rest of your life? Yeah. So things like groceries, things like, her, Amanda's daughter had a function in Disney World that she had to get to. So it was like, all right, I can either pay for medicine or I can send my daughter to do this thing that she loves. So, helping out to ease some of those choices for her was great for us. I was really, really, really proud that we were able to do that.
Before in your full time, what is it that you actually do for a living? Besides spend time.
I play golf, right? Yeah. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Zillion Agency. So I run a advertising and branding agency.
So kind of important.
Yeah. So podcast made a lot of sense for me.
Yeah, just real quick, rather than get into the whole long thing, and we already kind of talked about why we started this. The name resonates with me because the first time I ever met Emily, I walked into the wrestling room in 7th grade, and the only girl in this wrestling room, and she was beating up on guys, like literally not beat up, but beat guys out for wrestling spots, and to move up into the rankings in the wrestling room itself, she was beating guys, and so she really was a fighter. So the name itself, and what she went through, all the amount of times that she went, is a really awesome fitting name.
Yeah. The tough part, I met Em in 2019. It was right before COVID, and we moved in around the corner, and you found out in about 3 seconds that she was going to fight for what was right and fight for what she believed in, and when you called her out on something she was wrong, she just kind of cackle at you. So you knew that you were in for a battle every time, which was awesome for me. But yeah, through her entire life and entire time of knowing her, you never would have known she was sick. And that was, that was huge, I think, for everybody around her. Is she was out there living life, and she was gonna fight her fight, and cancer was gonna be the one that got his ass kicked. So, it it was definitely an easy time making this name.
So what's one of the things that is unique about this area and about, the Emily Eckman Fund?
So ovarian cancer. Ovarian cancer is one of the most under-researched cancers that exists. There is no test for ovarian cancer, so guys our age need to go start getting colonoscopies and making sure we're getting our normal health checkups and stuff. Women are getting normal health checkups and stuff. Ovarian cancer doesn't show up on that, so a lot of times it becomes
There's no pre-screening.
There's no pre-screening. There's a blood test that's somewhat useful, but not really predictive.
Some markers, but
yeah. And then transvaginal ultrasound is the other way that they look for this. But again, same idea. It's not a routine procedure, and it doesn't always show up So oftentimes tumors are very small. So most women aren't diagnosed until they're pretty advanced stage in the cancer. So by that point, it's real tough. So I think it's 1 in 94 women will be diagnosed with ovarian cancer, and 1 in 143 are going to pass away. So if you think about your high school class, and just start to think about the odds of that, and I come from a class of 200, so I think Strathaven's probably about that size. So you think at least one person you went to high school with is going to die from this disease. So one of the things that we want to talk about on the awareness side is really being able to advocate for yourself, to know what this looks like and feels like. If there's not going to be a test and there's not going to be a doctor telling you have this, the signs are really things that get overlooked. So it's fatigue, it's back pain, it's bloating in your stomach, it's stomach pain, feeling like you're too full, frequency and urgency to urinate, a lot of stuff that feels an awful lot like daily life, getting old.
I think you described most of my day.
Right, exactly. So it becomes something that kind of gets explained in other ways until it starts being persistent, and that's where women really need to advocate for themselves in a big way, with their doctors and with their their healthcare, to say, this isn't just getting old. This isn't just I had 3 kids and when I jump rope I pee. Like this is really something that you need to keep an eye on, and need to know that this is a possibility for you, so that you can keep getting tested and again, back to the word fighter, you got to be a fighter for yourself. So that's really the biggest part of this disease that we want to help combat.
What's the hardest part about running the organization right now?
Really it's telling some of the stories. It breaks your heart. There's a lot of great positive stories, but again, it's when you get diagnosed, you are so far in it that it's tough to come out of the other side. Em had a great run and definitely lived past her her prognosis. But I tell a lot of great stories about Amanda Wilson, who was our first grant recipient and passed away last year. So it's with every great story you kind of get a bad one to finish it out, and it reminds you why we're doing it, and reminds you that this is important and we got to keep going.
The organization, what do you think is the biggest challenge for the organization itself?
We are all volunteer run. We have a very, very small group, so it's doing the kind of daily chores of doing things like we've got our golf event coming up in June. That Scarpignato Plumbing has always been a great partner for us on that. So it's finding those sponsors, finding golfers, finding more people to come and frankly have a ton of fun here. But do it for a good cause. That's been the biggest challenge, is continuing to rally volunteers and events.
How can people get involved? How can we get more volunteers? Business.
Sure.
We have a ton of local businesses, in this area, a ton of local contractors. How can they get in touch with us at that point?
So the easiest way to do that is our website, which is emilysfighterfund.org.
Okay.
On there, we've got an events tab. Well, we've got a ton of information that will tell you about Emily, tell you why we started the foundation. But also we have an events tab where you can see pictures from past events, but also register for our golf event this coming June. There are sponsorship opportunities on there for local businesses. We've had a great response in the past with those. We've got between 100 and 120 golfers that'll be out here, and we're all people from the community. We're all people that live around here or had some connection to Emily, or just have kind of grown to have one over the last 4 years of running this.
Yeah. So June 16th?
22nd.
June
16th is my grandmother's birthday, though, so it's okay.
June 22nd.
Yep. Put that in big letters across this.
Absolutely. Here at Springhaven, it's a beautiful place. The driving range is now almost complete. The grass is coming back.
Yeah.
All new setup for the driving range for the electronic is awesome. The course itself's in great condition. We're always looking for sponsors. Foursomes are also awesome. Whole sponsorships. We have a ton of those that can go out. And other corporate sponsors. It's one of those things that it's a 501c, so tax deductible, right? Any guy who runs a business tells you 501c's are great on the bottom line. One of the reasons that we do support a bunch of charities is because we can and because they're tax deductible. So when it's a 501c and listen, there are differences in 501c's, right? There are 501c's set up for Little League Baseball, and they're awesome, and we support those as well. But then there are 501c's that are for great causes. This is certainly one of those, helping people that are struggling in a very hard time in their life. And so that's one of the reasons that we love this one itself.
Yeah.
So what do you think is one of the most rewarding parts about doing this? Do you think it would be like the Amanda stuff?
It's Amanda. It's keeping Emily alive is really the thing for me. I remember sitting in Melissa's kitchen and sitting around the table and us just kind of looking at each other saying, what are we going to do next? And not knowing where to put this energy and not knowing where to put this feeling. So, knowing that we've, for at least the last 4 years and beyond, been able to keep her memory alive, to keep her top of mind, and it's getting slightly easier to look at her picture over and over again. But but just thinking about hopefully how proud she'd be of us and what we've done and what we've built. And this year I want to. So we've given us a driver grant last year. I want to see if we can get a travel grant together for a researcher this year. So we'll be tapping into some friends that have experience in reading grant applications, reading scientific papers, that kind of stuff, so we can find the right people doing the right kind of research that will hopefully move this forward. And what's great is that we can offer a little bit of assistance. I want to continue to get to a point where we can offer a lot of bit of assistance, and that's crazy, but I think that's it's one of those things where once we start some funding for this disease, I think more will start to come from places like the NIH and the CDC and the Department of Defense, that kind of stuff. Those big giant grant writers can start writing some grants once they see some motion.
If you knew anybody starting their own charity, their own 501c, what's one piece of advice you'd give them?
You
started this, right?
I did, yeah. Melissa and I started this in July of 22. It is find a friend is the first biggest thing. You need partners, and we were blessed to have you join our board last year, and with Sarah and Melissa and Steve. You need people to keep you going, because it can be daunting, but it's also especially when you do something that you're as passionate about as we are, you need little checkpoints, you need little people to give you a little pressure valve, as you're going about your daily basis.
What's your favorite local restaurant?
So we go to Fellini's a lot. Scarp just learned I'm Italian like 5 minutes ago.
That's true. That's true.
So we go to Italian food a lot, and there was one I went to Villanova, and there was one up in Ardmore that we used to go to all the time. So that's got a really good place in my heart. But I want to learn some more. We started a thing, I don't know, 3-4 years ago, where my daughter's birthday every year we go to a different restaurant, one that none of us have ever been to before. So her birthday's on Saturday, and we still haven't figured out where we're going. So if you've got any good ones, we could use them.
Outside of work, outside of running your charities, because you run multiple charities.
I do a lot of things.
What's your hobby? What do you like to do that's not, I guess the charities are probably your hobby.
Yeah.
But what do you do to take your mind off it?
I play golf, which is a lot of fun and also very frustrating because I'm not very good. So we play golf. I coach a lot of the kids' sports, which is a lot of fun. And more than once, my wife thinks I need to have my head checked for how much I'm doing it. But we've had a blast. I coached 5 basketball teams this past fall or winter, and that was a lot. So now I'm helping out on 2 softball teams. So I guess that's kind of become my hobby, is coaching with the kids.
Spending time with kids is probably the better answer.
Whatever gets me into heaven. That's all I'm looking for.
If you were not in advertising, what do you think you'd be doing?
So Whitney tells me all the time I should have been a teacher. So I guess that's probably the next thing, is I would have been a school teacher. I really like working with people, and coaching people and getting the best out of them. And that kind of sounds a lot like being a teacher. So that's probably the answer.
So again, we'll just reiterate, June 22nd, Springhaven Club, the Emily Eckman Fighter.org, right?
EmilysFighterFund.org.
EmilysFighterFund.org. You can go there, get your information. You can sign up for the sponsorship, sign up for foursome, twosome, even a onesome. If you're just seeing this and you want to play golf, we'll get you in with some other groups.
It's been a blast every year. Emily makes sure we have great weather every year, which we appreciate her for. We'll have prizes. We've got, we started a couple years ago, putting a bunch of bottles out on the green. I think we stole this from somebody else's event.
We did. We had another event that we sponsor, and they had it. Yeah. And it was like, oh,
it's a great idea. So it's putting for bottles, and if you know anything about the Springhaven putting green, it is not flat.
No.
So having to figure out how to hit a bottle, you win it. So we'll have that. We'll have a
long drive on the
long
course.
drive closest to the pins, men's and women's. So we started a women's division 2 years ago, which has been awesome.
It's a lot of women.
It's frankly the most competitive women's division I've ever seen.
That's probably, we play it, we sponsor and play in a lot of events, and there's probably more women in this one event. And I guess maybe because it's a woman's cause, that, a lot of the women do kind of, a lot of the ones that we do aren't a ton of women in it. But there are a lot of women.
There's a lot of women that come to these things, and they are coming to win.
Yeah.
So it's been a lot of fun watching that the last couple of years, and we need more. We can't have the same couple 3 people coming every year and win, and we need to give them some competition. So come on down.
Okay. So there's one last question. Gene told me not to ask it.
Okay.
But I'm gonna ask it anyway.
All right. What's my handicap? Oh.
No, you have a lot of handicaps.
Yeah.
Toilet paper. Are we going single ply, double ply? What's your favorite brand?
I got to be honest, I'm bougie, and I know I'm not supposed to, but I'm a double ply guy. I don't know how you single ply guys, I'm just trying to get you more business, I guess. But, and I've got 3 girls in the house, so we're definitely going through it. Charmin, of course.
That's what I like to hear.
Yeah.
Listen, as I said in the beginning, one of the reasons we started this was to connect local organizations and local companies within our community. And this is certainly one of our favorite ones because of the good work that it actually does and the cause behind it. So we appreciate you coming out today and telling the community and trying to advertise a little bit more for our event. Thank you for the work that you're doing in this community, because so many people don't do good things for the community. They just try to take from it. And you are not one of those people. That's why we wanted to get you on, man.
It's not just me. I'm just a guy out front. We got a great group of people. We
really do.
A great team of volunteers.
All of them, even just the volunteers, not even the people that are involved with, planning stuff and making stuff happen. The people who come out on the day of, and even that, if you don't want to play, you don't want that, and you're just kind of, want to come out and help support the cause. Volunteers, at the end of the day, we need them the day of, and other events that we do too. We always need volunteers just to help out with the day of stuff.
Yeah.
So if you like volunteering for great causes, Emily's Fighter Fund is definitely a great one. And we thank you for coming to them today, and we hope you guys will support this organization.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thanks, Scarp.